Hi everyone, this is Danai, and in today's video I want to talk to you about how to cope with a stressful phase of concerts. This is a question that I have gotten a couple of times from you, but also a question that I have been discussing with a couple of my friends and colleagues very recently. So it is something that's on my mind anyway, and I thought that it might be interesting for you if I make a video about it. So if you're interested in listening to my strategies when it comes to a stressful concert phase and how I deal with that, then keep on watching. As you can see, I'm not at home right now. I am in a hotel room. I actually just played a concert literally 1 hour ago. I am back in my room now and I have 1 hour here, and I thought I would record this video quickly because after that I'm going to dinner with the other musicians. So this is why you're seeing me here in this very interesting artistic hotel room. So as I said, today I thought that I would just simply sit down and talk to you about how I deal with a stressful concert phase, or in general, the stress that can come up when you suddenly have a lot of things coming your way that you have to be very good at. The first thing that I want to mention is prepare early enough. And this is something that I had to learn the hard way, because when you play many concerts, and especially when you start at a young age, you do kind of develop a feeling of how many days, weeks, months in advance you have to start preparing a piece in order for it to be fine in the concert. Now, when you're young, you usually prepare way in advance. That's how it was for me, and everything is perfectly prepared for the concert. Then as you grow up and the concerts increase, you start preparing more short notice, especially when it comes to pieces that you already know. You might repeat them just very shortly before the concert, and that is fine because you have become a professional pianist and someone that is quite good at learning things quickly and at repeating things quickly, so it works until it doesn't work anymore. And I think this is a point that every musician has to go through to test the limits of how late you can start preparing and how early you have to start preparing. And I definitely had these experiences in the past where I realized I simply didn't start my preparation early enough. And no matter how much I pour into it and maybe pull all-nighters in order to make it happen, it's just not going to be the same as starting to simply prepare the pieces that are lined up for my concerts early enough. So this sounds like a very simple advice, but it actually is incredibly important. Really start preparing early enough. Now, if you just have 1 or 2 concerts coming up, that is quite easily done. You just simply start in advance. However, if you have a phase, which is a concert phase that is coming my way right now, actually, with many concerts back to back, with different programs, some of them new, some new concertos, some old concertos, different recital programs. If you have this big bulk of things coming your way, then you really need to prepare your preparation. So you really need to make a plan of when you're going to be preparing which piece in order to make sure that the pieces will be fine. So just to give you an example of what my next months are going to look like, I have my own festival coming up, which always is kind of a stressful phase because there's a lot happening and I'm very involved in it, of course, because I play and I also organize it. And right after that, in the coming months, I have 6 different piano concertos that I'm playing, 4 of them new, 2 of them piano concertos that I have already played before. I have 3 different solo recital programs that I'm playing, and I have 3 different chamber music programs that I'm playing. So I have all these things coming my way, and they are very much back to back. So at some point it's really, I'm playing 1 piano concerto, the next one is 3 days later, and there is basically rehearsals start the day after the other concert finishes. So there really is no time in between to prepare. And I have been preparing this coming phase well in advance because I know that if I don't do that, there is no way that I'm going to survive it. So for example, I started looking at the new piano concertos in February, in March, just looking at them and not perfecting them yet, but just already having an idea and kind of getting them into my fingers, and then taking a look again a couple of months later, so that when they actually come up, I feel like there is a very solid base of that new concerto in my fingers already. And this already brings me to my second point, because it's one thing to prepare early enough, but the second very big tip that I would give you when you have a big, stressful, full phase coming your way is to prepare regularly. And what I mean by that is always try to look at all the pieces that are coming your way regularly. I try to avoid to really focus on one piece, then put it aside, and focus on the next piece, put it aside. But I try to really look at the overall repertoire that I have to play. So for example, when I say I started looking at the piano concerto in March, I looked at it a bit. I didn't play it in tempo yet. I didn't look at all the movements, but I looked at maybe the first movement, worked at it, okay, then 2 weeks later, second and third movement, then left it, just read through it a couple of times, then a month later, read through it again, practiced some of the hard passages. So just slowly building it up, because there is an incredible power in revisiting pieces again and again, as opposed to just spending one intense week with a piece. And this is something that I learned because when I was younger, as I said, I prepared extremely well in advance because my concerts were not where they are now. I had so much time and I really dove into each piece, as you should when you study and when you learn an instrument. So if I had a new piano concerto coming up, I would start, a year before and really work on everything and let it develop, let it set into my subconscious, work on it all the time. Now, this is not possible to do with my schedule nowadays, but I can still create this effect of regular revisiting of the piece. So this is why in an ideal world, I like to practice something months before, then set it aside, then practice it again a couple of weeks later, set it aside, revisit it, and so on. Because you will never have the same feeling of security and confidence in a piece that you have practiced last minute in 3 days. Even if you have perfected it in your fingers, it will never feel the same compared to the piece that you have revisited 2 or 3 times and that you have set aside 2 or 3 times over the course of a couple of months. So these 2 tips really are so important. Prepare early enough and also prepare regularly. So look at a piece, let it go, look at a piece, set it aside, look at a piece, and then slowly leading up to the concert, of course, intensify the preparation. The third thing I want to mention is to be clever with your programming. So if you are a busy touring musician, then try to be clever with the programming. Try to repeat a couple of pieces where it's possible. If you are playing a piano concerto, try to program that piano concerto several times. If you're playing a chamber music repertoire with a certain instrument and you have another concert coming up with that same instrument, then try to program a similar piece. So try to be clever with your programming so that it works to your advantage. Especially for us pianists, if you are pianists as well, that we have endless amounts of repertoire, which I find is a blessing and a curse, because it's of course a blessing because it's incredible. We are never in the situation where we don't have enough pieces to play or where we have to really search for new repertoire to discover. There is always an incredible amount of masterpieces, and I really, really love that about playing the piano. But of course, the other side of that coin is that when we program concerts, the likelihood that we will play different pieces is very high. And when we have concertos, there are so many concertos in the core repertoire that the likelihood that there are different concertos that the promoters would like us to play is very, very high. So being a pianist means having to know a huge amount of repertoire, having to learn a huge amount of repertoire, having to learn many, many notes. So try to be clever with your programming if it is possible in any way. And also when you program pieces that you love. Even if you don't have the choice to program the same pieces, and I know how this is not always in our hands, try to make sure that you program pieces that you love, because Playing a piece that you love and that means something to you and that fills you with joy and that inspires you makes you learn it and prepare it that much faster and more efficiently than playing a piece that you don't love as much and that you don't feel as passionately about. My next tip is to believe in yourself. Don't just believe in yourself that you can learn it, which obviously you should as well. I mean, you should be confident that you are able to learn this amount of repertoire in the time that you have set aside for it, because anyway, you planned it, so you know you can do that. That is one thing. But once you've learned everything and once you're ready and you know that you've put in the preparation, let go and believe in yourself. Trust in the process. When you go on stage, don't think to yourself, well, was it enough now or was it not enough? Especially if it maybe is at the minimum stage of preparation because you didn't have more time. Trust that it is going to be fine. Trust in yourself and just kind of releasing all that fear and anxiety and surrendering to the situation really, really helps me. So once I've done everything that I can, I believe in myself, I trust the process, I surrender to the universe, and I just play and let the music do its thing. If you are in a situation where you are getting multiple requests with multiple programs, there are many people that want to play with you, another big piece of advice that I would want to give you, and that I once again had to learn the hard way, is learn to say no. It is okay to say no if you feel like something is too much. Don't feel like you have to do every single project that is being presented to you. It's okay to say no. It's okay to pace yourself. It's okay to plan a break sometimes. So make sure that you're only doing things that you are 100% convinced by and that you feel passionately about and that you love doing. And it's totally fine if you decline one or two projects. And I once got advice that I found very interesting when it comes to which projects and concerts to accept and which concerts not to accept if you are unsure. This advice was given to me by a very famous pianist, actually. And this pianist told me that there are 3 components to a concert. The one component is the music. Is it musically an interesting and enticing project? Is it maybe with a great orchestra? Is it with great musicians? Is it a program that you feel passionately about? So the artistic side, basically. That's one component. The second component is the career side. Is it helpful for your career? Is it in a great hall? Is it at a great festival? Is it with a very good conductor or musician? Is it something that can help your career? And the third component is financial. Is it a financially interesting project or not? So this pianist told me if 2 of those 3 components are good, then accept it. If only one is good, don't accept it. So that was actually quite interesting advice, and I took it. And actually, when I think about it, when I follow this advice, accepting or not accepting projects actually works out pretty well. So maybe this is advice that can help you as well, to check out if 2 of those 3 components are actually met and seem good to you, then the project is worth doing. The only time where I kind of ignore this advice is if artistically, so musically, the project is so interesting to me that I don't care about whether it helps my career or whether it is interesting financially. These are the cases where sometimes I accept it anyway, because at the end of the day, I make music because I love making music and because I'm so convinced that this is the way that I'm supposed to express myself, and I just get so much joy from it and I'm so inspired by it. So if it's a project that's incredibly inspiring musically, then I might do it anyway, even if career-wise and financially it's not that interesting. But generally, I do follow this advice. So these were my tips on how to successfully manage a stressful concert phase, especially a very full concert phase, and what I do in order to be prepared and how I prepare. Let me know your thoughts on this. Let me know if you have different tips. And I guess this is also applicable to different fields in life. It's not just for busy pianists. It's also for other things that need preparation and where you need to perform. So let me know your thoughts. I think this is very interesting. It's something that I discuss with colleagues a lot. And actually now in the past days, I was playing chamber music with some colleagues and we were talking about this because a couple of us are in quite stressful phases right now, and everyone was sharing their thoughts and what they do and how we prepare. So I will be very interested in reading your comments. If you enjoyed this video, please leave it a like and subscribe to my channel. That would help me a lot. And I will see you again in my next video next week. Bye!